Hey everybody, Jackass with ApexHead.com bringing you episode 16 of the I Am No Expert series. We are competing in South Korea here in our first season in career mode of F1 2011. This series is coming to a wrap. There will only be 3 races following this, and then we'll be moving along to F1 2012, so pretty excited about that. Currently running 6 in the standings and pretty much have no hope of winning the driver's title, but I am trying to beat out Alonso, and if I do that I may get an opportunity to get a contract from Ferrari, even though it won't really matter because again F1 2012 is on the horizon. Taking a quick look at our starting grid, Jenson Button on pole position and actually followed by teammate Lewis Hamilton, and you could see that I qualified in P7. My teammate qualifying all the way back into 17th, so pretty big gap between myself and my teammate. And there's the bottom of the grid, which basically means nothing. Let's take a quick look at the setup before we get started. And one more quick qualifying note, Sergio Perez in the Sauber qualified P5, which is his highest starting position on the season, I'm sure. So the Sauber running pretty well here in Korea. I've certainly had my share of duels with the Saubers this season, namely Kobayashi at Catalunya and Sergio Perez a number of times. So going to be starting off on the option tires, and you can see that I'm worn down all the way to 82%, and we are due to pit in lap 4. And not much I can do about the tires given that I'm qualified P7 in the top 10, which means I can't change my tires or start on anything fresh. Going to have to stick with the hand that I was dealt, and naturally that could have a pretty huge impact on the race. Always makes me nervous to start off a race in the low 80s on the tires, because it usually means it's going to be a pretty slippery ride right before I come into pit. So here we are to start, coming off the line right behind Vettel. Massa over to the left hand side, and let's see if we can split the two, which we do, but there's contact there with Webber. But no damage done to the wing, and now Webber slowing down again, and now splitting him and Hamilton, and now competing with Hamilton for P2 down the long straight, and just able to get ahead of him, basically wheel to wheel as we come down into turn 2 here. Let's see if we can get ahead of Button for the lead, and a little late on the braking, and Button is able to maintain position on the inside for now, about a half a car's length here. Gonna have to yield and hopefully not ram into the back of Button. As you can see, I de-accelerate maybe a little too soon, and now going to have to try and keep the gap closed through these tight corners. Basically it's very easy to ram into the back of the AI back there, and I had some problems in practice with that, so being especially cautious here. But let's see what kind of pace we have with the McLaren as we come through here into sector 2, taking this flat out in 6th gear, and now a quick shift into 4th gear. And now coming up here along this very sharp corner. It's basically a really difficult corner for me to master. My angle was not right there. Have to drop it into 1st gear to keep it on track. And this corner too is also very deceiving. It's really easy to miss your apex coming along there on the left hand side, and then it's got a hard sweep to the right, and it's very challenging to hit that. So now you can see holding up a pretty good train of cars here as we head into the last part of the first lap here, and you can see the Button was very close to getting around me there, and you got to try and maintain inside position coming along that last bend as we come into the long start finish straight. And Button really wants to get around me, but at the end of one lap able to stay ahead of him for now. And of course this straight's going to be the big challenge. Let's see if we can maintain our gap, and not too bad. Pretty decent gap given how fast the McLaren generally is. But here as we skip ahead to the end of lap 2, you can see the Button is still all over me. Have not been able to get ahead, and now taking this a little bit wide here, and Button swoops in on the inside. Now chasing him down through the start-finish straight. And let's see if we can get him here at the end of turn 1, and we do not. Along the outside, some very slight contact, but don't get too aggressive. And now cutting off the chicane. Definitely feeling the pressure from Webber, and activating my DRS now and using my curves. Really do not want to let the Red Bull by, and you can see I'm actually gaining on Button. And let's see if we can get him at the end of the straight here, and we brake too late again and grievously go off track. So for the second time in 3 laps I overshoot there, and that one was terrible. And Button is able to maintain his position. So now let's see if we can get around him. Gonna try and overtake on the outside and lose it, and Button goes a little wide, and there's contact from behind. And now Weber has been replaced by Massa. Weber must have spun out. There was some kind of contact, and you can see I'm a little shaken up as I maul the curbs there. And not exactly sure what happened, but no penalty indicator from the stewards, so obviously some type of racing incident. But Weber was definitely a victim in that exchange. So now skipping ahead to lap 4, and you can see that my tires are pretty worn out and struggling with grip, and that's going to allow Weber by. And feeling the pressure from Massa now as I went wide there and let Weber by, now trying to maintain pace. Now, of course, I am going into pit after this, so the chances of me getting around him before the end of the lap are remote as we come up to the end here. And now at least just trying to keep Massa behind me so that I can pull in. But again, I have virtually no grip. And now pulling into the pit lane here, going to drop my fuel mix down to lean. And I am very, very anxious to get on some fresh rubber here. So now down into P13, now 14. Let's see what the team can do for the pit stop. And try and get under 4.5. Not going to happen. 5.3 seconds. You can see it's a pretty busy pit lane, so that was sort of a disappointing stop. Going to go ahead and get my fuel mix up to rich to try and make some hay here. And resuming back into P14. So now we've got just over 6 laps to go and find out what we have with the new tires. Now skipping ahead to the start of lap 6, which is going to be the fastest lap of the race. And you can see now I'm bypassing some cars here, and we're coming out just behind, looks like Vettel. And going to see what we can do to get around him at the end of the long straight, but you can see his pace is very, very good, but up into P7. And this will probably be around where I'm going to hope to maintain until the end of the race, as I'm feeling pressure now from Perez and the Sauber, and able to get around this turn pretty well, and Perez not able to make a move. So now chasing the German down here and see if we can close the gap at this left-handed hairpin, drop it into first gear, and able to get around the curb there, and now Vettel in our sights, but going to be difficult to pass him, I suspect, especially because we're coming up to the part of the circuit where I've struggled to keep my lines, or at least get a feel for it. As you can see, I hit purple here in sector 1, so that's a good sign. Taking this sweeping left-hander flat out, drop it down into fourth gear and go wide here. And that tells you something about my race when on the fastest lap of the race I'm going wide on a corner, but the Sauber not able to exploit my mistake. And this is that corner that I'd mentioned that's just really, really difficult for me to be consistent on. As you can see, I ride up over the curb there just a bit. And my hope now is that we're going to bypass some people in the pit lane, see if we can get up into, say, P5 or P6, depending on how many people are in the pit lane. And still feeling the pressure from the Sauber as we come around the end of the lap. And let's see how many people are in the pit lane. This is probably going to be the last lap where there will be any cars. There's 1 car I see, and 2, and 3 and 4 coming out. So now coming in behind Massa, but able to get up into P6, so I was able to gain 1 position and still have plenty of time to see if we can push Massa for 5th place. But for now, got to keep Perez behind us. Skipping ahead here to the middle of lap 7, and you can see that the Sauber is giving me a hard time. Now coming up to the corner that I went wide on for my fastest lap, and not going wide this time, but Perez getting aggressive now, making a move on the outside. And as I push to try and reclaim the position, I brake too late, and he's able to worm in behind me. So now just trying to follow him through the sort of wide left-hander here, and then the hard right. And my hope is to try and maintain pace. Still got plenty of time here as long as I don't make any mistakes, but of course that's always the trick, isn't it? And now feeling the pressure from Perez's teammate in Kobayashi and the other Sauber, so I'm basically in a Sauber sandwich right now as we come up to the end of lap 7. And now it's a question if I'm going to be able to get P6 back. We'll have to wait and see, trying to fend Kobayashi off as we come into turn 1. And able to close the gap for just a moment, go a little wide there. And you can see Vettel setting the fastest lap of the race. Going to go ahead and activate my DRS and use some curves here. And this might be my only opportunity to get around Perez. We're going to see what happens here. I'm going to plan on braking a little later than normal. Try and make a move on the inside, but not going to make it happen. And you can see slight contact there with the back of Perez. and that was very, very close to causing some wing damage. So unfortunately not able to reclaim P6, so going to have to try and fight for P7. As you can see, we skip ahead here to lap 10, and now trying to fend off Alonso in the Ferrari, who's now making a move on the inside, now wheel to wheel, and he yields here, go a little wide at my favorite corner of the race, and able to get my braking point better, much better this time around, and able to stay ahead of Alonso for now. But with just over a lap to go, it's going to be a challenge. You know that Alonso's going to be pushing very, very hard. As you can see, I'm being very, very ginger through these corners. Still feeling the fear of sliding off or the slippery tires from before I changed off my options. So definitely a psychological dent as we come up to the last lap of the race. And again, it's going to be fighting for Alonso for P7. And he has been pushing very, very hard for the last lap or so. And tires are getting worn off. You can see I'm running a higher fuel mix. And my fuel indicator just kicked down to optimal, but I'm not worried about that given that it's the last lap. And here comes Alonso, going to try and push on the inside. Looks like he's not going to have time. And as long as I don't go wide here, which I have done a couple times, and you can see I do start to go a little bit wide, but not wide enough for Alonso to make a move. And this is usually where you can stretch out your gap for just a moment anyway as you come into the left-handed hairpin. And wouldn't be surprised if Alonso makes a move here and I go wide, and that's going to give him an opportunity, but I had made up just enough of a gap where he was not able to get around me, and that was very close. And now I am just really, really toe-tapping as Alonso looks on the inside here and then thinks better of it and yields. And this is going to be a huge challenge for me because of how easy it is to go wide through any of these given corners. And here's our favorite corner of the race, and that's where I've had all kinds of problems, but this time make sure that I maintain very, very strong inside position to not give the Ferrari an opportunity to pass me. And last time I have to come through here, thank goodness, and don't really handle it that well, but at least take care of the inside line so that Alonso doesn't have any opportunity. And just got a few more corners to go to keep P7 for the end of the race. So far so good. Only got this corner and then the last little bend here, which is very easy to go wide. Don't forget this is where I lost position to Button, and Alonso was starting to make a move there, but able to keep him in my mirrors and finish up into P7. Definitely not a very pretty race. Just had too many problems with a handful of corners, and that's all it takes. Not able to gain any ground holding my starting position. Taking a look at the results here, Lewis Hamilton able to get the victory, followed by his teammate Jenson Button, and followed by Vettel there in third, and Perez was able to keep P6. And looking back towards the middle of the grid, you can see that Alguersuari finished 12th and Barrichello in 11th. And my teammate all the way down into 17th, so he was not able to make up any ground either. And Kobayashi there with a DNF, not sure what happened to him. But at least I was able to finish ahead of Alonso, who is my rival for this season, so I'm going to have to take some comfort in that much. But with just a few races to go, still going to be a challenge to stay ahead of him in the standings. We'll have to wait and see how it goes. Going to go ahead and leave you guys here with some race highlights. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Feel free to check out my channel for a number of other F1 2011 gameplay videos, including this entire season with commentary. And also have a great deal of Forza 4 videos, including about 22 or so with commentary, if you have any interest in that as well. And you can find links to all those playlists in the description of this video. But for now, time to get ready for India, which is the home race of my team. And it's a very, very fun circuit, but I'll be honest, I don't know it that well, so I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time there. But with a little luck, hopefully I can do my team proud, so very anxious to get to that. Thanks again for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time.